What's up everyone, welcome back to the Commander's Lair. It's Joey here. Today we're doing another deck tech. This will be my Henzie Toolbox Torre deck. So this is from the new Capenna Commander set. It's one of the Riveteer or Jund commanders. So basically this deck is themed all around like the Blitz mechanic and sacrificing. We're less going to focus on the Blitz side of it, is more just kind of getting a cost reduction on big creatures and kind of giving them haste, which is technically what Blitz does, but we're not focusing on the other cards that give it Blitz as much. We're moreover kind of just focusing on just the big creatures and kind of cheapening their cost. So Henzie is black, green, red for a 3/3 Devil Rogue. Each creature spell you cast with mana value 4 or greater has Blitz, and the Blitz cost is equal to its mana cost. And Blitz cost you pay costs 1 less for each time you've cast your command for the commands on each game. So it's probably going to be maybe a 1 or 2 reduction. It's not going to be anything too major. But it just can be able to just blitz them out and kind of get the creatures out a bit quicker, which is kind of what we're going to be doing in this deck. So before we start talking about any actual blitz cards or any cards in the entire deck, I'm just going to go over what blitz means first. So basically you may choose to cast a spell for its blitz cost, so all the creatures with 4 or greater are going to have that blitz, so we can choose to cast them for the blitz cost. And if we do, it gains haste, but when it dies we draw a card, and you sacrifice the beginning of your next end step. So that's it has some card draw built in there. And basically we're going to pair that with cards like Disciple of Bolus, so it's 3 and a black for a 2/1. Human Wizards, when it ETBs you can sack another creature, you gain X life and draw X cards for X the creature's power. So what we're going to be doing is cheapening the cost and then blitzing out our commander, or blitzing out our creatures for cheaper costs, and then sacrificing them, because you draw the card no matter what, so no matter how the creature dies, you sacrifice it. So even if you sacrifice it to this card, you will still draw the card and, you know, gain the life from Disciple of Bolus. So basically what you'll do is you'll blitz it out and then sack it, and you'll draw to its power, and then you'll also draw an additional one. It's just a nice hit for lots of big creatures after they've got their value. After they've attacked, we can kind of just get value off them as well. And then cards like Death Ritual work really well, so it's 2 black green for an enchantment with Morbid, so at the beginning of each end step, if a creature died this turn, you may draw a card. So hopefully we're going to work blitzing out a creature, killing it every single turn, so sacking it to itself at the beginning of the end step, so we'll draw every single turn from this, and then possibly from our opponents as well. You know, if we kill a creature or some of their creatures die through combat or anything. So, you know, hopefully this will be 2-ish cards per turn cycle, maybe 3, which is pretty good for 4 mana in Golgari. And then Grog's Uprising is great, it works well with the really big creatures, so it's 2 and a green for an enchantment. When it ETBs your card, if you can call a creature with power 4 or greater, which we should be able to do in this deck, gives all our creatures trample, which is really useful for enabling all the big creatures we're going to be pumping out. And then whenever a creature power 4 or greater ETBs on your control, draw a card. So that's hopefully what that's going to do, is turn the blitzes that we're going to be doing into draw 2 effectively instead of draw 1. So next on to the ramp. Before I go into the ramp, I'm just going to mention the fact that we run a bunch of ramp and a bunch of draw in this deck. So Henzie ramps and he draws, so he's really useful for both those, but even still we're running 13 individual other card draw effects and 11 individual ramp effects. So including Henzie, that's 14 and 12. So basically what we're going to be doing is making heaps of mana and just drawing cards non-stop, keeping our hand filled so we can do the best we can and make the most of it. So all we're doing is kind of tacking on draw and ramp effects to have the most we can, so just make sure our hand's always full and heaps of ramp and heaps of card draws so we can just play whatever we want. So cards like Seed Guide Ash are great for this, so it's 4 and a green for a 4/4. So we're just triggering off Henzie, of course, like most of the cards in this deck are going to be. When it's put into a graveyard and play, you may search your library for up to 3 forest cards and put them onto play tapped, and this you do shuffle your library. So what you're going to do is obviously blitz this out for hopefully, what, 4 mana instead of 5. So 4 mana, search your library for 3 forests, put them play tapped is obviously really useful, so 4 mana for 3 lands is a great rate. Ruthless Technomancer is really good as well, so it's 3 and a black for a 2/4. When it ETBs, you may sack another creature you control. If you do, you create a number of treasure tokens equal to the creature's power. It also has 2 black, sacrifice X artifacts, return target creature power X, or less be graveyard to the battlefield. X can't be 0. So that's useful. You can kind of, you know, replay the creature that you just sacked, or you can get a different creature out and kind of use that second ability for some value. But otherwise, what you're going to be doing is basically just getting value into the creature you blitzed in. So you can blitz in a creature, hopefully, say for 1, maybe 2 less mana, and then get its whole casting cost back after you've attacked with it and use its all effects, just to get, you know, a refresher on the mana. And then Ognis is 1 and then a hybrid Rakdos, red and hybrid Gruul. So it's got a really flexible casting cost. It's a 2/2 with haste. Whenever a creature you can control attacks with haste, you create a tapped treasure token. So basically what this is going to do is going to give us 1 extra mana. So it's kind of, technically, in a way, it's going to ramp again. So it's going to make all the creatures we play cost one more less because we're gonna get the treasure token, we're gonna get the mana back. So technically, it's gonna get double Henzie's effect almost, similar to what Garruk's Uprising does for the card draw. And then into another major part of the deck, this is going to be cheating the cards and cheating the mana cost. So cards like Atali Primal Storm are the perfect example. 4 red for a 6/6, when it attacks, exile the top card of each player's library, then you may cast any number of spells from among these cards without paying their mana costs. So just straight off the bat, sorry, this is a really fun card. A lot of what this deck is kind of, you know, big swinging with those massive creatures. It's really fun effects. It's kind of really, not chaosy, but just kind of crazy, and it's a really, you know, fun kind of game to be playing, especially in Rakdos. They're also Jund, they're really fun colors, and just, you know, getting cards off our library so we can get some other massive creatures, play them for free, maybe value off our opponent's library, you know, just keep flipping and cheating mana costs with lots of cards. And then Feign Death has a great effect in this deck, so it's a black mana for an instant until end of turn. When target creature gains, when this creature dies, returns to battlefield tapped under its opponent's control with a 1/1 counter up. So this is basically going to be 1 mana to reverse the effect of Henzie. So it's almost going to be kind of a 1 mana, maybe reduce it by 1 or 2, but you kind of get that haste and you get to use it straight away and attack with it and swing in, draw a card. So what this will turn into is sort of a 1 mana, draw a card, and then reduce the cost of a creature by 1 or 2 and give it haste. So obviously that's a really good rate for 1 mana. It's just kind of a useful effect in that regard. When you think about it, you know, in a vacuum, what it's actually going to be doing for the deck. The Persist is 1 and a black for a sorcery. Return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it. There are -1/-1, sorry, and there are some legendary creatures in this deck like Atali or Ogdus that we aren't going to hit, but mostly we're playing non-legendaries. And this is sort of just a cheap reanimate effect, so it, you know, it only costs $1 as opposed to reanimate, which is like $8, I think. So just kind of getting some of the big hitters out of our library for 1 and a black, either after they've died or after we just had to sacrifice them with Henzie. We can just get them back for a really cheap rate, sort of similar to what Feign Death does. So now basically how we're going to be winning the game is through these big creatures. Cards like Bane of Balaged, it's 7 mana for a 7/5 Eldrazi. When it attacks, the defending player exiles 2 permanents he or she controls, so it's a nice removal stint, also a nice big creature. It's basically, there's a heap of them in this deck, maybe 10 or so, plus all the value ones that are like Atali. So just heaps of kind of cards that Henzie's going to want to get out, and basically blitz out to get them for less mana, you know, big threats on the board earlier than we normally would. I'm not going to talk much about those because it's pretty simple what we're doing. They're just playing big, stompy creatures, mostly green and Eldrazi. Crested Mudbraid, it's a bit more finicky, so it's 2 black, green, red for a 3/3 human warrior. When another creature is put into a graveyard from play, you may put X/1/1 counters on Crash, where X is that creature's power. So basically, you know, all these creatures that we're blitzing out, if we can get Crash just sitting on the board, you know, blitzing out Bane of Galaged's gonna, you know, give him 7 1/1 counters, or Atali's gonna give him 6. Even Seedguard Ash is gonna give him 4. So basically, just, you know, constantly just getting that value, pumping him up, making him really big, so we can kind of attack with him later and swing with him for some value. And then Living Death's a kind of, I love this card. It's by far the most expensive in this deck. You can take it out if you want. Twilight's Call fits well. I just thought Living Death fit a bit better because we do have dice triggers as well. Twilight's Call wouldn't play with that too much. Definitely swap that out if you want to make it cheaper though. Basically, you set aside all creatures in all graveyards, and then so that's exile, and then put each of the creatures that's in play to the graveyard, then put each creature from exile into the battlefield under its own control. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to swap all the cards in the graveyard with all the cards on the battlefield. So being that we have a massive zombie deck with all these giant creatures, we're going to get a lot more value out of this in our opponents, return all these really big creatures, and kind of win the game with all the value that's going to accrue for us. Alright, that's going to be all. I'm just going to thank you guys for watching. This was a really interesting deck because I wanted to try and, you know, get out some popular commanders, so I make sure my content's, you know, as relevant as possible, so you guys are finding decks that you want to be building and, you know, playing, because Henzie is a very popular commander right now. It's getting built quite a lot. You can go check on EDH track, he's being built constantly. And basically I just figured, you know, I'd get it out for you guys, see what's going on, because I love Jund. I didn't know how to build this deck, but I kind of think I hit the groove with it, just playing some big creatures. Pretty simple deck, pretty much exactly what, you know, you'd expect from it, but it definitely is a lot of fun, so that's why I thought I'd build it. The deck list is in the description as always, and I have got all the cards, as always, again, sorted into their categories, just like I do in the video, so you can kind of see what card does what and why I'm playing it in the deck, just by checking the tapped out link. Obviously, also, you can kind of tell in the video. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see a different deck tech or a different commander, let me know, and I'll build that for you, a different kind of video. I'll do that. Let me know in the comments, tell me what you think of this deck even. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and like if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all next time.